Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood for YouTube, back with another Dark Shadows video for you guys and gals. And this video is to continue my 1841 parallel time trip, episode 1214. The opening narration is done by Nancy Barrett, who's, again, in this episode. Now, her and Quentin are recovering from the Black Plague. Or they're gonna recover. I should say they're gonna recover in this episode from the Black Plague. Spoiler alert! If you haven't seen it, they were for those who haven't seen this, they were struck with the Black Plague because of two reasons. One, the Collins family did not hold the lottery to see who would go into the room, and no one had gone into the room because of that. So they hold the lottery in the prior episode, and by the end of that episode, excuse me, Gabriel goes into the room. And this is the episode where somebody, I'll say, has, and they believe it's Gabriel who has stayed in the room. They hear, Morgan hears a noise, and he sort of wonders, well, what was that? And they don't open the room. I get the sense that they're not allowed to open a door, that that's part of the ruling, that you not only have to stay in the room, that opening the door would be an act of attempting to let them out of the room. So, is it, by the way, not to play spoiler, but is it me or is Gabriel Collins are they taken from Harry Houdini here? Like the ultimate escape artist? I sort of wonder if that, because though we're dealing with a cursed room, what haven't we really seen in this arc? We haven't seen magic, right? So I'm sort of wondering, and again, I don't know. I'm just hypothesizing here. And you guys, I'd love to hear from you guys and gals on this. Were they sort of using magic, where like stage magic, to where okay, here's Gabriel. He knows every in and out of Collinwood, so that's why it's so easy for him to escape. And it makes the character all the more fun. If his drinking wasn't already fun, this makes his character even more fun. The fact that he just seems to escape out of nowhere. He escapes from the tower room and he escapes from the locked room without actually ever exiting the door, um, which is amazing, right? So Gabriel, spoiler, Gabriel does escape here. Someone takes his place. That's what they find at the end. Now, in between, in a prior episode discussed by Patrick McRae and Gordon Demowski, sorry if I mispronounced that, that in that episode, Bramwell learns that Catherine has to take place in the lottery because she's a Collins. And he sort of, at first, again, go back in Dark Shadows, and there are other horror franchises that do this. Don't just listen to the words. Watch the facial expressions. They sell as much as those words do. And you can see in Bramwell's face, he's concerned, even though he passes it off as nothing in 213. In 214, our buddy Bramwell has recovered from the most severe gunshot wound ever. Actually, no, not really, but they made it out to be more severe than what they did. So he comes to Catherine. And I know I'm jumping around, so this isn't the opening scene, but this is a key scene I wanted to point to. So Bramwell was talking to Catherine, and you know, again, he knows that Catherine loves him, and you can see Laura Parker again doing a great job, even though she's like saying no. Her body and language is saying yes. Now, the most interesting part of this isn't just a conversation about Daphne. We knew that was coming, right? I mean, look at the prior episode. The brief conversation between Keith Prentice's Morgan Collins and Jonathan Frode's Bramwell Collins is gold here. again, look, I know we've made fun of Keith Prentice's shouting. And yeah, he does shout in this episode, but it's not his shouting I want you to pay attention to. It's his face. The writers and actresses were genius on Dark Shadows. They knew. The writers knew how to write, and the actors knew how to sell, whether it be from with their words or their bodies or their faces. They knew how to goddamn deliver. And I'll give a comparison, no, not to just Halloween, but Friday the 13th as well here in a moment. Take a look at Morgan Collins when he asked Bramwell, "Why didn't you shoot me?" Look at his face. He already knows the goddamn answer. The answer's Catherine. It's so good, criminally underrated by Keith Prentice to do this. I know that they're experienced stage actors, but god damn, the I honestly think, and I know the daytime Emmys didn't come until a little later, till after Dark Shadows was already off the air, but I'm betting Dark Shadows is the reason for the daytime Emmys, if that makes sense. Because you cannot seriously go back and look at this and tell me these actors and actresses did not deserve Emmys for their performances. I think really, not just Dark Shadows, but soaps in general were the reason for the daytime Emmys. Hey, we have a primetime Emmys, so why not daytime Emmys? Um, and that's the thing. Like, when you watch Keith Prentice's Morgan Collins and you watch his face, and he asked Bramwell, "Why didn't you shoot me? You had the chance." Bramwell doesn't answer. And Bramwell shouts at him after he walks away, but right before that, just watch Keith Prentice's face. He's It's sort of like the colors draining from his face because he already knows the answer. The answer is his wife, Catherine. He loves Catherine so much, so whatever the reason be, it has something to do with Catherine, and Morgan now knows it. The question being, is Morgan going to confront Catherine over it? And that's going to be the interesting dynamic going forward between Morgan, Catherine, and Bramwell. Again, there's only, with Dark Shadows, leading up to all this, leading up to the 1841, we were so used to dealing with the supernatural. But really, if you go back, in many ways, 1841 is paying homage to the beginning as well when you watch it, because really they're only dealing with the most supernatural thing they're dealing with is what? The room. But there's other things going on. There's a romance going on. There's also a potential romance between Kendrick Young and and Melanie Collins. I really love John Carlin is not in a lot of episodes of this, but when he is, man, is he great. God, him and Nancy Barrett, just what chemistry. I mean, the actors and actresses were great. No, he's with this. You have Nancy Barrett, who's recovering from the Black Plague. So is David Selby. Interesting enough, you don't see a lot of David Selby in this episode and in the prior. Really, you don't see David Selby's character laying around in a bed the way you do Melanie's. You do get to see, however, 2 episodes prior to David Collins, David Selby's Quentin Collins passing out due to the Black Plague. The reason he's infected is because he was around Melanie. Again, this is sort of how they got the Black Plague to spread around. Everybody's around everybody else, so everybody goes to everybody else to tell them, hey, this, and then it spreads. Again, the writers are really smart here in how it carefully spreads around. It's not deliberate by the characters themselves, but it's damn sure deliberate by the writers, and it's pure fucking gold, my friends. To Sam Hall and Gordon Russell, we are not worthy. I should say I'm not worthy. Great writers and great actors. I mean, just it is really, really, really great here. And So you see how it has spread around in the house. And you see also that, again, where did Julia go in the prior episode? She went to the old house. And I love Naomi here. And really, Naomi is sort of the catalyst to let you know that, hey, if you're so worried about the Black Plague, then you shouldn't have come to the old house. I love that line because basically what she's saying without actually saying it is, well, you shouldn't go anywhere. If you have the Black Plague, why are you around other people? Why are you going there? It's foolish. It's in every way what Josette is doing, what the character of Josette is doing. Again, Josette was an important character in the prior time, in the time we know and love, but she's just as important here in this timeline as well, because she's an all too reminder of how bad things can go. Whether it's her being forced to jump off Widow's Hill because of a curse, or a spell, I should say, or it's her reminding the family, why are you giving in to this superstitious stuff where you're just going to infect other people? You going to Old House was senseless. Morgan going into town and Gabriel going into town was foolish. And this episode is a reminder of it, especially the way Josette words it, and I love her for it. The actress who played Josette, Mary. Oh God, I mispronounced her name. Hold on, give me one moment. I want to played by actress Mary Cooper. I didn't want to mess up her last name. I knew her first name was Mary. Um, Mary Cooper does a great job being Josette. I mean, criminally underrated. And I know I feels like I say that a lot with Dark Shadows. It's because it's true. It's all too true. And really, every episode you watch is a payoff of that. Really, I mean, the actors are just really underrated. They're so criminally good, and the writing is criminally good as well. Again, she's a reminder. You're all fools for in a way. What Josette's saying is you're sort of obeying the room's whim, even when you're not going in it. When you go into town or go around other people, you're spreading the very disease the room has caused, the Black Plague. And it's genius. It's pure and utter genius by Mary Cooper's character and by the writers themselves. It's, again, gold. The early on in this episode is obviously Morgan and Julia. Morgan Collins, who's played by Keith Prentice. Happy belated birthday, by the way, to him. And to Grayson Hall's Julia Collins. For once, Julia is actually a Collins. Um, they're sort of eavesdropping on the room. Also, by the way, you get, again, Morgan hears the sound. That's the switcheroo taking place, obviously. Now, you also get Catherine coming to the doorway of the room, and I love the confrontation between her and Grayson Hall. It's when Grayson Hall says, I don't want you here. And I love Laura Parker's Catherine's response here. Do you mean here or in the, you mean in the, by the door or in this house? And it's like, oh, receipt, right? You could say it's a soap opera moment. It is, but it's still good. And I love the fact Julia goes, you know what I mean. It's like, well, no, we really don't know what you mean, because I always got the sense that Julia Collins was meant to be more of a heel. And there's a lot of sort of hints to this, to me, in my opinion. The first real hint you get is when they're talking about Kendrick Young's sister, Stella. And Julia doesn't really want to talk about Stella, but then she looks to Flora like, oh, should I say something? And it's like, well, wait a second, you've already sort of spilled the beans here. What's the big deal keeping any more of a secret? So they finally only only Flora and Julia knew about Stella Young. Like, what the? They kept it from Morgan. They kept it from Quentin. They kept it from Gabriel. And all three, all three pretty much have the same reaction. All three brothers are just like, what the hell? Like, what's, why? What's, it's so good. Not in this episode, mind you, but prior episodes. And you sort of get the sense of Julie is not too sure what to do with Stella. She's not sure whether they should free her or just get rid of her. And it's like, okay, you have all this money. Why didn't you just come up with a solution to pay her off to begin with? That was, and again, I do think it's not just Julia herself. I think, again, this has a lot to do with the room. I do think the room is influencing certain decisions. And I think there's hints to that too. So you could argue that, or debate that perhaps the room is influencing Julie's decision, so the writers aren't necessarily turning her heel. But I always got the sense that she was meant to be more of a heel. Now, again, but I do think the room is influencing decisions. It's not just the going into the room itself. The room is influencing people to go into town with a black flag. And really, this episode is a reminder of that. The room has, again, what Josette is saying is that room has a lot of power over this family, and it's a though she doesn't say it, that specifically, that's what she's meaning when she says to Julia, "Then you shouldn't have come to the old house." Then it's not just the old house she's meaning. Yes, she says the old house, but what she's telling Julie is you're fools for in every way for giving into that room. Because the room is influencing them. It's influencing their decision making, especially when they withhold from the lottery. Now, when they have the lottery, yeah, they're placating to the room again. Now, there's a lot of interesting parts in this episode. I talked about Keith Prentice and Morgan Collins. Or sorry, Keith Prentice is Morgan Collins and Jonathan Fritz Bramwell. Great chemistry, those two. But the other part is when they open the door. By the end of this episode, you get Melanie is better, and near the episode, and you get Quentin is better. And they're miraculously better. And it's not by accident. Somebody has stayed in the room. And again, I say somebody because that somebody was not Harry Houdini. I mean, Gabriel Collins. he did not stay in a room. He stayed in a room for a brief period of time. He actually, the episode after this, he gives the Collins family a letter. I won't reveal what's in the letter until the next episode. I've already watched it, by the way, so I may go turn. I'm gonna give it a rewatch before I do the video, so I may go and watch it and do another video later. I'll probably do a video later on because I got to read along to do. So they open the door to the room, right? There's a body, and you sort of wonder, is that Gabriel? And no, it's not. It's somebody who somewhat looks like him, though, a younger version. And he's dead. He's deader than the door now. Oh shit! Oh my god! Again, the room influences people. Did the room influence Gabriel to leave? I don't know. That's one I will leave for you to decide. I'm sort of torn on it. You could say maybe it did. Maybe you got to believe the room knows who's in there, right? It some way somehow that room knows. Just like it's been influencing characters on the outside. Is it influencing Bramwell? I'm going to get into that here in a moment. But with this, did it influence Gabriel to leave to cause more harm? I do think to a degree, yes. Yes. So why did it cure them? Because true to its word, hey, somebody died in here, so I'll give you a reprieve. And the room in a sense does, but You guys know what sort of happens. You guys know what happens in the next episode, but I'm going to talk about it here in the next video. I won't discuss it too much further here because it would be a giveaway. Now, did the room influence Bramwell? No. When the room sort of starts to affect Bramwell, it affects him because Catherine has to participate in the lottery, and that happens. You find that out in the prior episode, that the episode prior to this. In 1213, you find out Catherine has to participate. Well, more importantly, Bramwell finds out. We already knew by 1212. Um, and in 1213, Bramwell finds out, and it's a, oh my god, like look, like oh no look too. It's great by Jonathan Frid. Like I said, criminally underrated actors, criminally underrated writing. It was way ahead of its time, and it still is today. Um, Again, another great episode. I think, too, in my opinion, the Morgan Bramwell build up and the Morgan Bramwell beef is way, and I know it's gonna sound like a Monday morning quarterbacking, but I'm not. I in my opinion, it's way better than Jeremiah and Barnabas. It is, and here's why I say that. Not because there's not a witch, because there's prior heat. There was with with Barnabas and Jeremiah, we're led to believe, and this is why Vicky suspects it as well, because Barnabas is giving off the vibe to the family members, to Vicky, to Carolyn, that that Jeremiah and the original Barnabas, which is their Barnabas, always hated each other. That's the feeling you're getting when you're going into 1795. So when you see that that's not the case, it's like, whoa, holy shit. So their duel is brought on by Angelique in every way. She's the cause of it. So I've brought up the gun thing enough. But with Morgan and Bramwell, they hate each other. There's already a premise that Bramwell was treated bad by the Collins family. There's a premise that, that Bramwell and Morgan have always hated each other, and the seeds are just very well laid. I'm not saying the seeds weren't well laid for Jeremiah and Barnabas. I just feel the seeds were laid better here because they can purely focus on a male rivalry of one specific woman. Um, and I love that. I think it's one of the most underrated aspects of 1841 parallel time, in my opinion. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I feel like I'm talking too much. Um, the uh, the second video will be done by tonight. I promise. I'll get it up by tonight sometime. I'm gonna go rewatch the episode again. I try not to miss anything. That's the reason I always go back and rewatch these episodes, so I'm not missing anything. And yeah, David Selby, uh, Nancy Barrett, they're in the episode. They're feeling better, obviously. And again, it's just criminally underrated stuff here. Writing, acting, all of it. The sets were great. Again, I went in again. I always felt I went in not liking 1841 Parallel Time, but as I rewatched the episodes, it's been growing on me, and it's criminally underrated. I think where if you watch this, we've all watched the Coffin box set all the way through with times without stopping. I know I have, and that's where it sort of feels like, oh, really, these episodes. But here's what I'll challenge you to do: go watch these episodes, not all at once, but one at a time, like I've been doing. And I really have. I haven't tried to jump episodes too often. I think 213 and 214 are the only ones I've actually jumped. Well, what I say jump is I've already watched the episode, but I'm going to go give it a rewatch because I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. So, again, really great episode here. A lot of key moments. And that's the thing, too. I don't look at these episodes, nothing feels filler here. And that is so great to say. You guys, you know what filler is. Filler is just something that's being wrote in for time's sake or to move the story along in a way. This just doesn't feel like that. Nothing feels like filler. I know there probably is in this arc, but still. Um, Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you later tonight for the second video. I'm going to go do a read on the Dark Shadows Book Unbound. You guys have a great, great day.